Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Rise podcast with me, your host, Katie Oman, women's empowerment coach, author, book coach, and all around fabulous human being. I created the Rise podcast as a place to share women's stories because I believe in the magic and the power of women's stories to inspire us all. And by listening to other women, we can get empowered, we can get some oomph in our day, which I think we all need. So I hope that you enjoyed this conversation, and I hope that, again, it gives you what you're looking for at this time. Today, I have another amazing woman to speak with. Her name is Kate May, and I am so happy that she agreed to come on this and have a chat with me. So, Kate, honestly, thank you so much for being here, sweetheart. It means so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. So, as ever, as I say to all my guests, the best person to introduce yourself is you. So, I will give you the floor. So, tell us about who you are, what you do, all that beautiful stuff.
Okay, and this is the bit that everybody hates, isn't it? Talking about ourselves when we shouldn't, but we do. So my name's Kate May, and the little title I use is Kate May, Modern Day Mystic, under all my socials. And I kind of picked that because when I was starting out, I was doing just tarot readings, and I can't remember what little name I had then. And then I started to do other things. I thought, oh, but that doesn't come under the umbrella of tarot. So in the end, I thought I'd do a little bit of everything. So I'm just going to call it Mystic, Modern Day Mystic. And then I can chop and change over the years, and it won't matter. So I do tarot psychic medium readings. I've been doing that nearly 20 years now professionally. So that's my full-time work. I teach the tarot as well. I teach astrology and psychic development. I have my own little coffee shop, which I've had now be 6 years next month, 6 years.
Wow.
And that's again called Mystic. Everything's Mystic for me. It's called the Mystic Coffee Lounge, and it's a regular coffee shop. And then we also have, we sell crystals and all the new age things, tarot cards and jewelry, gift sets. And then out the back is where I have a separate room, and that's where I do all my readings and my Reiki healing and different therapies in the separate room, which I've blinged up all like sparkly. I love it in there. And then in the main shop in the evenings, I use that for my circles. So when I run my development circles, if I do my workshops and face-to-face classes, obviously since lockdown, everything went on Zoom and a lot of it stayed there, which is great. So the face-to-face stuff I tend to do in the shop there. So I've got my own little base. Predominantly I work here in the UK. Again, prior to lockdown, I used to work with my husband, he's a trance medium. So we worked in America every 6 months, and that starts back again next year. So we've had a few years off with the lockdown, but we've got 2 spots next year to go back. So hopefully we'll get that kicked off. But most of our work is here. And I also run Mind Body Spirit fairs. So I've been running them for about 12 years, 10, 12 years. And they're all across the country. They're quite big events now, with speakers and different things going on. So a little bit of different events. We also do psychic cruises. Again, started that
Wow.
lockdown, and they're so good fun, so good fun. But we've just found a new cruise liner that we can start that back up again. So that'll be next year. So I've got my finger in lots of pies, but predominantly it's teaching tarot, astrology, and doing those readings and mediumship.
Wow, that's a lot of strings to the bow. I love it. I love it because I say this when I'm teaching and coaching people myself, is that I am a multi-passionate person. So I say to them, if you are, you find your umbrella, right? So what I call that is like, what is your overarching thing, your passion, your drive? And then once you found that, like you can then hang off different things under that space. And I love that you have this mystic because, like you say, it's like it's so, although some would see it, I suppose, as a little bit like limiting a niche for them. For you, I know how expensive that is because straight away, I mean, look at the amount of things that you do. It's incredible.
Yeah, and if I wanted to write a blog on angels, I can do that. If I want to, I did study paganism, so if I wanted to do it on the Sabbats, I can do that. I don't have to think about jigging anything.
Yeah.
It all just comes under one. And when I first started, I got into the tarot really bit fluky, but when I started to recognize that it was going to be a business, and started to look at all the business names, it had to be something where I could, and because I do chop and change a lot, so it had to be something that I could get everything under without having to worry that it's not going to suit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I totally resonate with that. Absolutely. I think you've definitely found the right name, right?
It seems to
But
work. Like modern day mystic seems to work.
yeah, no, I agree. So I mean, as somebody who's been on this path myself in my own, we all have a story, right? Anybody that's been through an awakening or found this part of themselves and brought it forward, it didn't happen like randomly. Everybody has a story. So I'm interested, how did you get started with all of this? What was the big kind of catalytic
Oh
moment
gosh,
for you? What was the one?
how long have we got? So
Well, as long as you want, my darling. This is my podcast. You can have as long as you want.
the there's so many coincidences that's and fate, twist of fate, whatever you want to call it, that have led me to it. It was obviously always there, but I wasn't open to it. I don't think I was never one at at school when I started developing later on in my life, and people would have all these wonderful stories of we saw dead people at 4 years old, and we used to talk to grandma at 10. I never had any of that, and I didn't get anything in meditations. They'd be coming up with all these wonderful colors, and I'd be like nothing, nothing. So I was nothing like that. Wasn't a natural. I had to work really hard, had to train. I don't think I would be classed as a born gifted, whatever you want. So I did have to work hard at it. But what I had was an interest in it. That was all I had from very little. Whenever anyone would talk about anything to do with the supernatural or mystical realms, astrology, my mum would read her zodiac signs from the magazines, and I 5, 6, 7, and I'd be intrigued. I didn't know what it meant, but I'd be intrigued. When I got to school, I would know everybody's zodiac signs. I could work it out just by their personalities. I have no idea how I knew that, but I just did. So I just had this interest, and I can still remember all their zodiac signs now from school 30 years ago. So I just had a strong interest in it. My nan would talk about her mum who passed when she was 8 of tuberculosis. So she would talk about feeling her. So I'd be like, how can you feel a dead person? So my other nan would talk about when my great nan died, sensing her. And I'd be like, how can you sense her? She's dead. So it just things of that nature interest me. And then when I got to about 13, I remember having a deck of tarot cards with a free with a magazine. And I had got that, didn't know what I was doing, but I just like collecting things. So anything that had anything new age or mystical or not, I just collected. But I didn't know how to use it, but I was just drawn to buying it and stashing it away. Didn't know about it. And I was about 17, I think. And my uncle had got me a little job down our local pier doing astrology computer charts for this couple that he knew. They wanted a little Saturday girl, so he roped me into it. So I started to do that for this couple for the summer, reading astrology charts. I remember her reading my palm, saying to me, "You're going to get married twice and you'll work in America." And I was due to get engaged then, and I was like, "Oh no, I'm not going to get married twice, and I don't want to go to America." I did live in Spain, and I thought perhaps she got it mixed up. Perhaps she got the country mixed up. But so I started doing the astrology for them and just having an interest. And then I got into my 20s, and I was being pulled on the path, but my head was taking me off down the nightclubs and all the boys. So my 20s, I was not on the spiritual path, but I still had this strong interest. I was still collecting everything.
Yeah.
People knew that I was interested in it, and they would ask me like, what you're picking up. I didn't know what I was talking about. Had no idea about the meanings. And then I think when I was in my late 20s, everyone I seemed to meet seemed to be into it. So at school, the friends that I would put in the groups, they seemed to be into it. When the first couple of boyfriends I met, they were into it or had a connection. A longer term boyfriend, his parents were healers, and I'd met him randomly in a nightclub. So there was all these little things. And then when I got into my, I think, late 20s, I started to grow up from the clubbing world. I thought, oh, I'm just gonna join a little meditation group or join a group. So I joined this meditation group, and that's where I realized that I didn't have clue what I was talking about, and everyone was coming up with all these colors and I had nothing. So but I just carried on. I just enjoyed it, carried on. I did a year's astrology, did a tarot course, and found that side of things more easier because it's a little bit more scientific. It had black and white to it. The other stuff seemed a lot more made up, the mediumship things, and just I don't know, it wasn't tangible like the astrology and the tarot were. But I still wasn't planning on doing it as a job. I worked in retail initially until I had my children when I was in my early 30s. I was retail management, And then I gave up gave up work to have the children, but I was already qualified as a beauty therapist. And the
Yeah.
plan was, when I qualified at 18, was to park it until I had children, then I could work from home.
Yeah.
So that's what I started to do the beauty therapy. Then I learnt Reiki. And then all my midwives and helpers were like, go to these toddler groups, it'd be really good for you. But I had quite a lot of friends with babies. I was like, I don't want to go to any of them. I'm not really into meeting new people, not really sociable. I'm all right with what I know. And then after, I don't know, my son was about 9 months, a friend of mine said, would you go to this toddler group with my daughter? She's like, was 16, 17, super nervous, didn't know anyone. She don't want to go on her own, but it's going to be good for her mental health and good for the baby. So I said, well, I'll go once. It's not my thing, but I'll go and then I'll just leave her to it. Wow, I loved it. She never went back. I went every week. In fact, I went back 3 or 4 times a week, and I'm still best friends with some of the girls I met.
Yeah.
And one of the mums there who run it, she said, what do you do? I said, I do beauty therapy. She said, do you want to, this is before health and safety. She said, do you want to bring your couch? And you can do the mums, do some waxing or nails on the mums, and we'll look after all the kids. So I was like, okay. So we did that. And then she said, oh, bring your flyers in. And all my flyers, it had that I was Reiki trained. So she said, oh, you do Reiki? I do Reiki. And we just got into a conversation about angel cards and then tarot. And she said she had angel cards. I said, I had tarot. So she said, bring them to the toddler group. So I brought them to the group, and then we started reading for the mums. And again, didn't know what I was doing, just reading what I thought. And then I think I'd done one course by then. Yeah, I'd done the one course, but I weren't very good at it. And then people started to book us outside the group, like once every 3 or 4 months, and we would go and do a reading together. And then that turned into once every sort of couple of weeks. And before you know it, we were every week and we were booked. And we
Yeah.
weren't charging them. We did it for about a year, not charging. And I, at the time, I was also doing Betterware, Clean Easy, Avon, and Chocoholics, trying to get some money together. Different story, but I had a bit of a pain of an ex-husband, so I had to get money together for the children. So I was doing all these little jobs that I could carry put the kids on the pram and deliver all these magazines. And the
Yeah.
tarot didn't think about it at all. I went and had a reading with someone, and he said to me, one of your businesses, it's going to take off. This is what you're meant to be doing. And I thought, it was near Christmas, and I thought, oh great, the Chocoholics, it's really going to take off. Didn't think about the tarot. So after Christmas, when the Chocoholics didn't, I thought, oh, he was a bit rubbish. And then it must have been a year later when I thought, oh, I know what he's talking about now. And the tarot just seemed to fall into place without any effort. I just got booking after booking. And I didn't even think about having it as a job. I was just doing it because I thought it wasn't a job, and I was doing all these other things to try and be a job. And then I was getting booked up regular, and the people were coming back and passing people on. And I think my youngest, so there's 3 years difference. So it must have been about 4 years of just not realizing. And then I thought, oh, actually, I might do something with this. So I went and did an advanced tarot course, and then started to really put the effort in, looking at the website, social media, da 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 da. And it was effortless. It was just, it fell into place. And touch wood, since that day, so nearly 20 years later, I've never had a problem getting clients, being full up week after week after week. In all this time, I've not had any issues. So
Wow.
for me, the universe was like, we need to get you somewhere into that group to meet this woman. We're going to get it there somehow. We need to get you on the track, because I would have missed it. I was well on the way to missing it. So
Wow.
yeah, that's my story.
Amazing.
By the way, so I met my husband about 10 years ago through Mind Body Spirit fairs. We were doing
Yeah.
those. And then I'm out with him and his mum. And his mum says that she's a medium as well, that she used to work down a pier, and she was describing where she worked. I thought, that sounds familiar. And she said, we had this little girl come and do astrology readings for us. And I was like, she said, our friend Ron. And I was like, oh my God, Ron's my uncle.
Oh my
I was like,
God.
wow. So I'd met her and my husband's stepdad, I don't know, 30 years before I'd even met him. And he
Wow.
ended up being my second husband that I went to America with, that she predicted. But we didn't recognize each other, me and his mum, because it had been 30 years. So bizarre. So it was all kind of, yeah, somewhere, some coincidence there. Or fate.
Wow. I mean, talk about full circle, right? That's
Yeah.
mad. I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. I mean, as somebody who's been on this path myself for 14 years, I love synchronicities, right? It just like the magic of life. It's just like little winks and stuff. And it's interesting. I want to ask you I don't normally do the big questions this early on, but I have to ask because I'm always interested in people who are in this field, as it were, their take on it, because I have my own. Do you think that we truly have free will? Or do you think there is a massive, like, ultimate plan for our lives, destiny, fate, whatever you want to call it? How much free will do we really have? Because listening to you, I'm like, you made choices and you made decisions, but there was this pull all the time, pulling you, that wouldn't leave you alone. And so it's like, although we have free will, there was an ultimate plan for your life. Is that, that's what I believe. I'm interested in your take on it.
I think for me, there's you've got destiny, you've got free will, and I think your free will gives you the choice whether you want to do something or not. But I think we always have to learn certain lessons. I think there are certain things that when we listen to our intuition, when we listen to our soul, life becomes so much easier if we just listen instead of trying to use our ego and our head to do things. If we listen to our soul and was true to ourselves, life would be so much more simpler. And as soon as I did that, that's when everything fell into place. If it's too difficult, if you're trying to, whatever it is, business or relationship, trying to work against something, if it's not working, it's not working. Everything should be easy. But for me, I think with free will and destiny is like, say you've got like 4 pathways, and just say like in this life where we've got to experience, I don't know, grief, love, generosity, just say those 3 things. Whatever pathway you take as your free will, you'll experience those 3 because that's your destiny, but you'll experience it in a different way because you've taken those different free will. So if you go down pathway A, you might experience grief in that particular way, but if you went through path B, you'll experience grief but in a different way. So the nitty-gritty, I think, is flexible, but the overall bubble of what you've got to experience, I think you're going to have to experience that whichever plan where you go. But the nitty-gritty of it is your free will. But the ending of it, and so for me, you know, I can only talk about obviously my personal, that I was definitely meant to do this because it's become, well, because it was so easy. I think when things are easy, that's when it's meant to be. And that pull, and I kept trying to pull myself off, and then it kept pulling me back. And so I think there's an element where if you're really meant to be somewhere and meant to be doing something, then you will be there. No matter what free will you've got, you really will be drawn there. And if you don't go against that, or if you do go against that, then I expect life will be very challenging because you're just not on that right page. So so I think there's a whole mixture, but I think as far as the going through things, lessons, you'll learn those regardless, but you'll learn them in a different way on a different pathway. But I think if people listened to their intuition, listened to what's pulling them, then life would be a lot easier. But we don't, and that's where
we don't. Because I think we like to overcomplicate things, and we like to think it's a lot harder than that because that's the we've been given.
We're told that, aren't we? We're told life's tough. We're told that, you know, you don't get anything without working hard. We're ingrained in that. And actually it's a load of rubbish. Who told us that? Who said that? Who made that up? Because it doesn't need to be like that. Life should be easy. The outside world is hard enough. Without us creating it in our own world, it should be easy. We should only do things that make us feel good. Who says we've got a job that we don't like? Who says we have to be with the person we don't like? You know, all these sort of man-made rules that we just adhere to, that who says that? When we get to a certain point in life, I think, hold on a minute, that's not a rule. We don't have to go by that. And that's when life, I think, becomes a lot more simpler from my experience.
Oh, me too. I mean, I have a lot of sayings. My friends said I should get them like tattooed all down my arms because I say stuff all the time. One of them is that I didn't come here to be beige and boring, which is an absolute, if you know me, you know that's true. The other one is if you don't like where you are, move, you are not a tree. Right? Because there is nothing, for me, more frustrating than somebody who continuously moans and complains about where they're at, but doesn't do anything to change it. And, you know, change is scary, sure. But for me, it's like staying where you know in your heart and soul you're not meant to be is scarier. And, you know, I was talking to my mom years ago and she said, what if it goes wrong? What if? And I went, Mum, if it's got 50% chance of going wrong, then surely it's got 50% chance of going right. But you're not going to know while you're sitting there wondering what if, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I remember when I was about 18, I was working in retail shop and my dad said, "Oh, there's no money in that." He said, "Unless you're a manager." I said, "Oh, I'll be a manager." "You can't just be a manager." I said, "Yeah, I can." "Who said I can't?" And I think by 19 I was a manager. And I remember him saying to me, "You can't have everything you want." "Who says you can't? Where's the rule book that says that?" So I was
Yeah,
like a bit defiant, and that's progressed probably a bit more now. But that, I think that's helped me in getting where I am with things there. You can make your own rules, but I do think I like you, I get fed up with people, especially on social media, when they put all the moans and groans, and you're like, "Oh, you've been there for years, you've just not done anything. What do you want us to do? You need to do it
yeah.
for you."
Oh, totally. I totally agree with you. Totally agree with you. More than you know. But anyway, moving on.
I'm
So,
like, delete.
what is the reaction of the people around you to the work that you do? Because I know from my own experiences, it's quite divisive. And because I'm also a psychic and clairvoyant and empath and stuff, and I know that you're a bit like Marmite. For those of you not familiar with the yeast spread, it's their slogan is you either love it or hate it, right? So I find that people either are fascinated by us and totally just want to know everything, or they look at us like what con artists manipulating people after. So have you found the people around you have been mostly supportive? I hope so.
Yeah, I've not had that divide. I've not felt that divide. And when I was working and had an interest in this, and I would do like little predictions, or I could tell when someone was going to get pregnant, things like that. So people were fascinated, but
Mm,
and they all knew that I was into astrology and things, but it wasn't a big deal, and it wasn't an issue of any kind. It just was. And now that I'm in this, because I'm in it 24/7, really, I've got pockets of friends that aren't into it. So when I go out with them, we just don't talk about it. It's not a big deal. We just talk about their stuff.
yeah.
Like might talk about like how the shop's doing, but it's talk about kids more. Yeah, it's never, I've not had that divide. I've not had anything where I feel like, oh, I couldn't share it with this person or that person. It's all over the house. I've got, my house is decorated exactly how I want it. I've never
Yeah.
not been able to have crystals out and things. Um, yeah, I've not felt that personally. I've all the people around me, I would probably say 90% are in it as well. 90% of
Mm.
the people are in it. I guess because my husband is as well,
Yeah.
and his
Yeah.
parents are, my parents are open to it. Um, yeah, I've not had it as an issue at all. And say the odd friends that aren't in it, it's not because they don't believe it. It's just that it's not their world. So we
Yeah.
just talk
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
other things
Which
there.
is
But
so lovely. Because I know, like a
yeah,
lot of people, they worry about coming out the spiritual closet because they're scared of what people are going to say and think and judge them.
yeah.
And I
I've
think
had
fear can
clients.
be, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Fear can be such obviously now a huge obstacle and block in your life if you let it.
Yeah, and clients that are like they can't put things out in their room because their husband doesn't like it, or they can't decorate because their husband might not like it, or their child doesn't like it. So they've got to be careful what they say. And I just think, you, I don't know, that's not living for me. That's not living. I
Mm.
I certainly wouldn't allow that at all in my life there.
It's all
But
about being your authentic self, isn't it, really? And whatever that looks
yeah,
like. And if you, I put posts on yesterday about, losing yourself and that kind of abandoning yourself. And I think if you're not allowing yourself to be fully authentic, then are you really living your life to the fullest, I know it's not always easy, but we didn't come here to do every lesson doesn't have to be easy, right?
yeah, and I think, you have to, as much as I love all the spiritual things, you have to have an earthly life as well.
Yes,
So,
of course.
I go do the shopping. My favorite thing to do is gardening and going around garden centres. So that's what I'll do on my days off when I'm not doing all of these things. So you have to you can't be so spiritual that you can't be earthly as well. I think you need to have a balance of it all. But
Mhm.
in my day to day, because I think it's because my day to day job is this, it is all of it. But if I'm not working, then I'm not working. I wouldn't be going around Asda picking up messages for people at all. I'm thinking like, where can I get some bargain ham from or something? What's on offer? What's in the clothes rail?
It's so true. And I think that's a misinterpretation and a misunderstanding about the kind of people that we are. you know, you tell people what you do, and I have had some people going, "Oh, are you picking up anything about me?" Or, of course, the classic is, "What are the lottery numbers?" And I always say, "Do you think if I got them, I'd give them to you and not keep them for myself?" But yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. We're not on 24/7 because you go mad.
Yeah, yeah, you'd be exhausted. You
Yeah,
do need to have an earthly life. So as soon
yeah,
as when I'm not working, I'm not working. And
yeah.
if I'm in the shop and I've not got clients, but I'm in there either waiting for a client or just in between, I could be on my laptop typing away. I'm not in the zone at all. So if someone comes in, which like you say they do, and then they start asking about it, and then, oh, what can you pick up on me? I'm like, nothing. I can't pick up on nothing because I'm not in tune. And I'm not going to
Mm,
be tuned because you've not booked a session, and that's when I work.
yeah,
Right now, I'm in the middle of sending an email or having a cup of tea or whatever. So yeah, yeah, and you have to have boundaries, I think, but you learn that
mm,
later on. And I think at
yeah,
the beginning, you want to be a bit, you want to be seen as a bit special. You do get your
mhm,
ego with it. It's practice for you as well. You don't really know
yeah,
what you're doing and how to put those boundaries. So definitely at the beginning, you want to get those ticks and feel good,
yeah,
make but in the end, you're like, actually, I can't be bothered now. I don't care what you think. I know what I know, and it doesn't matter. Your opinion don't matter. But definitely in the beginning, and you can see it with the newer ones that come on. They're all lit up all the time.
I know, bless them, absolutely. You know, and I do feel that it is like looking like a new puppy. They're so like, and there's almost,
Yeah,
I think, a feeling of like you say, the ego stroke of wanting to be liked and wanting to be validated and
yeah,
wanting to prove themselves, which I get. It's
yeah,
just you realize that after a while, it kind of feels like it's quite inauthentic because actually, what really matters is being of service and trying to help people. It's not about you being liked, really.
yeah,
I mean, obviously, repeated clients, but they don't like you as a person, it might. It's about you offering the guidance and, you know, resonating with them. That's more important at the
yeah.
ultimately.
I think that you start off probably serving yourself, and then
Yeah,
as you get into it, you realize actually I want to be serving spirit.
yeah,
That's where you end up changing. I think everybody serves themselves probably at the beginning. Some
yeah,
continue to do that, but I think eventually we recognize actually we're providing a service,
yeah.
not to ourselves there.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, I know my answer to these questions, but I'm interested in yours. What's the best thing about what you do?
Oh, I love being able to when people say send messages or say after the reading like it's helped them, they've got clarity, they can move forward, and then they send a message saying like it's really improved and helped them. That's the best. That's the
Mm,
best. Those type of messages, money can't buy. That's what you do
yeah,
it for, to be able to help people without a doubt. And I don't need to know the ins and outs of people's stuff. I just need to know that it makes sense, whatever I'm saying. I'm not nosy enough I don't really care what's going on there. I just want to, I just want to do the right reading and then get on to help the next person,
yeah,
really. But sometimes they do share it there. But it is the service to others. It's to be able to
mm,
help others. And when you see that they've grown or that they've moved forward or that just that weight off their shoulders, um that's what it's for. Definitely, that's
absolutely,
the best part.
absolutely. So, on the flip side of that, what's the worst thing about what you do?
What's the worst thing? Wow, being psychic can be a blessing and a curse, can't it? So sometimes you can see things and pick up things you're like, oh, I'm not sure I wanted to know or see that at the moment. So I guess probably that um side of it. I think, do you know, also, I think the competition can be unhealthy sometimes. Sometimes
Mm,
competition is really good, is healthy. And it's helped me immensely get to where I am with my work because everybody, where I am, we've got everyone and their dog is a medium where I am. So there's a lot of copying. There's a lot of copying. But every time someone does it, I'm like, oh, that's great. Now I can level up. So
yeah,
they kind of, so that's helped me. But the annoying one thing I think about it is that you constantly got to put yourself out there, and that can be exhausting.
yeah,
Constantly with the social media updates, and the social media is changing all the time. So you're constantly got to do this, you constantly got to do that to keep yourself up there. And at times you're just like, I just don't want to do any posts today. I don't want to do a live today. I don't want to do this. I just want to have a few days off. And you can do that, and it doesn't, no one sort of dies off from doing that. But I think for me, the worst part is sometimes I enjoy it, but I think it is the keeping up keeping up the appearances with all of it, I think is, it's not the worst of it, but it's probably the least enjoyable
Yeah.
part of it, really. If I could just have someone do all of that and I literally just go and do my stuff and come home, I think that would be much more, and I'm getting lazy as I'm getting older, that would be easier. But then I'm a control freak as well, so I probably wouldn't like anyone to do it, because I'd be like, oh no, you're doing it wrong, I need to do it like this, I need to do it like that. And then there's other times when I really love doing all my lives. So yeah, I don't know, but you can get a slave to the social media side, can't
Yeah.
you, sometimes?
Yeah.
And I think that can be unhealthy.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
you've got
Balance
to
is
be in it.
everything. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that, yeah, it's probably that. Probably
I
that
get
side.
that. I get that. I get that. So, knowing what you know now, which, it is quite a big question, really, I suppose. If you could go back and speak to that 18-year-old version of you working in the shop, knowing what you know now, what would you say to it?
I would say, don't people please and listen to your intuition.
Mm.
Definitely took me forever, forever, and probably only in the last 5 years to recognize my intuition and to realize that what I was doing was helping others at the cost of helping myself,
Mm.
but at the feed of my ego. That's what it was all about, really. And I wasn't listening to my intuition because I was listening to my ego too much. So once I really figured that out, everything again just realigned and became a lot more simpler, and things succeeded from there. So I would say that little intuition in your head and your voice and wherever it is, listen to that, Miss 18-year-old.
I mean, I wondered whether you would have listened to yourself if you were in your ego at that point, anyway.
Yeah, yeah, probably not.
Probably not.
Probably not
Like,
there.
who are you? Like, I know what I'm doing. Leave me alone.
Yeah, yeah. Mine was a lot of just like, I wanted to help people because that's what I love doing, is I love
Yeah.
helping people. And then I'd put my stuff on the back burner because I'd be helping them and I'd get a buzz out helping them. But I guess there was also that little bit where I wanted the reward for helping them, not financial, but just that recognition for helping them. That was the bit that I probably wouldn't have admitted at the time, or
Yeah.
maybe not even recognized at the time. Yeah, I probably didn't recognize it at the time. But afterwards, when I like questioned, why am I doing it? And you kind of soul search when you've hit some brick walls and go a bit low, you think, why was I doing that? What's the core of it? And when you become authentic with yourself and honest with yourself, then you can be like, okay, well, maybe I was doing that for me. I was helping them, but was I really helping them for them, or was I doing it for me? So I think there's a bit of both going in that, to my detriment. And when I finally listened to my intuition, I got out of all those situations and pleased myself a lot more. And yeah, realigned, and it just went up and up and up.
I love that. I love that for you. I really do. I think it's a really inspirational thing to take away for anybody listening. So I hope people are paying attention if they're watching this.
Have
So,
a word with
what's
yourself. I say it to a lot of
absolutely,
people. Have a word with yourself. You don't need to tell anyone. You just need to own it to you. And once
yeah,
you can be honest with yourself, warts and all, and that's the shadow work, isn't it? It's doing the shadow work, which I think, again, lockdown, a lot of us did in that. Then we can start to recognize, actually, there's that little bit of me that perhaps I don't want to admit to being, but it is there. And then
yeah,
you can shed light on it and it doesn't seem a big deal anymore, you know.
exactly.
And I think also with astrology, and I wish they did astrology at school with children. I'm sure it'd help so many more mental healths. Like when you learn about yourself, I'm a Taurus, a typical Taurus, and one of my negative traits is manipulative. And I can be very manipulative. I want what I want, and I can wriggle things round to get that. But I'm aware of it because I've studied my chart and I know myself, so I can work with it. And when I feel like it's coming on, again, intuitively, I'll be like, okay, this isn't really the best time to be manipulative. This is a time where I need to think about this or that. But then there might be another time I think, no, I'm okay. I can be manipulative right now because this situation is all right
Yeah,
for it. So I think if we can understand our birth chart and understand who we are, we're not fighting against who we are. We're not trying
yeah,
to be something we're not. We can accept each and every part of us, but we can work with it. And if we don't like something about ourselves, we can manage it. So
yeah, absolutely. I love that. I love
if
that. It's
kids,
so true.
yeah, if kids could do it, I mean, adults need to do it, but I think if kids could do it, it would stop a lot of their mental health anxiety of trying to figure out who they really are.
Yeah,
Walks and they just get themselves a lot better. They'd be like, that's me. That's why I'm like this. That's why I'm like
yeah.
that. Let's manage it instead of trying to hide it or fight from it.
Exactly. I'm a huge advocate that you can't know yourself enough. I think, it's one of the key things of being here is to figure out who you are and what makes you
Mm.
tick, working with that. So I totally agree with you. I really do. So we've looked back. We're going to look forward for a second. What is your big, scary dream? Not your safe dream, like, the things that you've done. What's the big, ultimate, scary dream for you right now?
Oh, what's my big ultimate scary dream? Um, I would love to do those on the reality TV shows when they have the readers go in
Mhm.
and they do like a snippet. I'd love to do that. I would absolutely love to do stuff like that. So anything to do with media, I would love to. And travel, working and travel, that's
Yeah.
always it. But actually, I have a bigger dream that's got nothing to do with the spiritual things, which is my next plan, and it's to get into real estate. So that's or I'll say real estate because I watch all the selling sunset stuff. Estate agents, estate like houses, buying and selling
Yeah.
houses. But what I'd love to do with it is I'd like to become a fully qualified feng shui consultant and go into the properties and not just get them done up, painted and what have you, but actually set them so that they are aligned properly with the feng shui. So you can have clients who would understand that aspect of it. So they would be buying it where you would look at their date of birth, the house when it was built, and then you can literally make it to measure to fit,
I love
and
that.
coordinate all the furniture, but doing it big, doing it like in big style. That's because you'd have more scope to do things. That would be my big scary dream, I think, is to is
But I
to
love
go.
that for you because listening to you, Kate, I don't doubt that you can't make that happen, right? Because it feels like I say, you're a doer. You do make things happen. You do create your own path as you go. And I think you just put that out there. You're going to do it.
Yeah, probably will. If I could do the feng shui, I mean, the course is expensive. Like if
Mm.
I'd love to do it, but I'd love to do that for me anyway, because I had my house done in lockdown, and now I have it done every year for the new astrology, new feng shui year. So, and then my friends do ask me about that, so I can do little bits, but I'd love to do that properly. That would be so
Yeah.
good. And whether I'll end up going off this course, the universe knows, and if it's meant to be, I'll go along and it will all fall into place. I don't know, but that would be another exciting
Oh, watch
opportunity.
this space. Tell you,
Who
because you're in
knows?
Hollywood, A-list celebrity houses. That'd be the thing then.
Yeah, I don't know if it'd be quite A-lister houses, but it'd be nice to
Hey,
it'd
don't
be
sell
nice to
yourself
make.
short. You never know,
No,
right? You never know.
but I think like your home is so important, and you come
Mm.
home to your home, and if the home's not settled right or not got the right energy in, and I used to have it with my ex, you come home and you feel even worse. You don't want to come home, and it's
Yeah.
horrible not to want to be at home or to
Hmm.
have that room that you just don't want to go in, and you've
Yeah.
got to go past it every day. I think you should have every single room of your house should be like walking in, like, I love this. I love this room. I love this room. I painted my front gate and door a couple of years ago, bright yellow, got all flowers. So when I come down the street, the first thing I see is that bright yellow, and I'm like, oh, I love my house. And every room I go in, it's like, I love it. And then that makes you feel good. So
Yeah.
I'd love to be
Love
able to
that.
create that in other people's
Mm.
homes. That would be really.
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you, watch your space. We'll see Kate on television soon, and should be all the magazines going. So, feng shui stylist to the stars. I'm telling you, it's coming, right?
I watched Amanda and Alan buy a house for £1 in Italy. That show that they've got, which is amazing. And I text my friend, my business partner, and I was like, I think we should go and start buying properties. I've just found one for £1. Yeah, you never know.
Oh, I love it. I love it. As a Taurus moon, I'm like, oh, this feels good.
Yeah. Good to
Oh,
dream.
bless you, Kate. Well, look, obviously, this has been such a good chat. I knew, right? I knew it was going to be. But so, for people who are intrigued about you and maybe want to find out more about your coffee shop or working with you or getting a reading from you, where can we find you?
So it's really simple. Most of my socials are all under Kate May Modern Day Mystic. But my website is katemay.co.uk.
Oh, easy peasy. I love it.
Just
I love it.
simple again to keep it under, so I didn't have to be chopping and changing.
Yeah,
I just kept it all under katemay.co.uk or
I
Kate May
love
Modern.
it. And I'll put all these links down in the description box so you can check them out after the video. So that not now, watch the video, and then you can go check them out. But Kate, thank you so much, sweetheart. I'm going to say I knew this would be a great chat, and I've absolutely loved talking to you. And just thank you for your time. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And I hope that you guys watching this have had some really good takeaways. I hope that we've stopped and made you think, and I don't know, sparked something in you that, you know, maybe you'll find your own pathway because from this conversation, who knows, right? But thank you for watching. As ever, if you like this, give me a little share and a like. I appreciate it. And as ever, I will speak to you on the next one. Thanks a lot, guys. And thanks, Kate. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.